Imagine driving down an empty country road just before midnight. No traffic. No street lights. Only the sound of your tires against the pavement. Then, you notice something standing beside the road. It's over 6 feet tall. Its wings are folded behind its back. Its eyes, they're glowing bright red. You blink, but it doesn't disappear. Instead, it starts following your car. This sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. Except, hundreds of people claim it actually happened. And many believe this mysterious creature appeared just before one of America's deadliest bridge disasters. Was it simply a case of mass hysteria? Or was something far stranger hiding in the darkness? Tonight, we're diving into one of America's most chilling unsolved mysteries. The legend of the Mothman. Our story begins in the quiet town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. In the 1960s, it was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Children played outside until sunset. Families rarely locked their doors. Crime was almost non-existent. Life was predictable, peaceful, ordinary. But in the autumn of 1966, something changed. The town would soon become the center of one of America's greatest paranormal mysteries. A mystery that still attracts investigators, skeptics, and curious visitors nearly 60 years later. Just outside Point Pleasant stood an abandoned military facility known as the TNT Area. Built during World War II, it once stored thousands of tons of explosives. After the war, the military left. Nature slowly reclaimed the land. Concrete bunkers became hidden beneath thick forests. Wildlife moved in. Locals avoided the area after dark. Some claimed they heard strange sounds. Others reported unusual lights moving silently above the trees. Most people dismissed the stories. Until one cold November night, everything changed. On the night of November 15, 1966, two young couples were driving through the abandoned TNT area. Roger Scarberry, Linda Scarberry, Steve Millett, Mary Millett. They weren't looking for ghosts. They weren't investigating paranormal activity. They were simply out for a drive. Then, their headlights caught something standing beside an old building. At first, they thought it was a man, but as the car moved closer, they realized it wasn't. The figure stood nearly 7 feet tall. Its body was gray. Its wings were folded tightly against its back. But what terrified them most were its eyes. Two enormous glowing red circles. Not reflections. Not headlights. Glowing. Watching. Without warning, the creature spread its massive wings. The young couples froze. Then it moved. Not toward the woods. Toward them. Roger slammed the accelerator. The car sped down the lonely road. But when they looked into the rearview mirror, the creature was chasing them. Flying. Silently. Keeping pace with their speeding vehicle. 50 miles per hour. 60. 70. Still behind them. They later claimed the creature never flapped its wings. It simply glided through the darkness, as if it didn't obey the normal rules of flight. When they finally reached the edge of town, the creature suddenly disappeared. But the nightmare was only beginning. Shaken and terrified, the four witnesses rushed straight to the local sheriff's office. They all described the same impossible creature. Separately. Without changing their story. The sheriff listened carefully. He had expected another prank. Instead, he found 4 genuinely frightened young adults. Within hours, word spread across Point Pleasant. Most people laughed. Others quietly wondered. What if they were telling the truth? They were about to find out. Because this was only the first sighting. And over the next 13 months, dozens more people would report seeing the same terrifying figure.
ENIGMAVA. Unlock the unknown. Uncovering the secrets of time.
By the next morning, the story had spread across Point Pleasant. Some people laughed it off. Others called the witnesses attention seekers. But something unusual happened. Instead of fading away, the sightings increased. Night after night, more people reported seeing the same winged figure. Different ages, different professions, different locations. Yet their descriptions were almost identical. A towering creature, massive folded wings, and 2 glowing red eyes that seemed impossible to forget. Whatever people were seeing, it was no longer just one family's frightening experience. It had become the town's biggest mystery. One evening, several volunteer firefighters decided they had heard enough stories. Surely there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe it was a large bird. Maybe someone was playing an elaborate prank. They drove into the abandoned TNT area determined to solve the mystery. At first, everything seemed perfectly normal. The forest was quiet. Almost too quiet. Then, one firefighter spotted movement near an abandoned bunker. A large gray figure stood perfectly still, watching them. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then the creature suddenly lifted into the air. Not with frantic wing beats, but with one smooth, silent motion. Within moments, it disappeared into the darkness above the trees. The experienced firefighters returned home with more questions than answers. Even years later, some refused to discuss what they had seen. Over the following weeks, reports continued pouring in. Drivers described seeing the creature standing beside lonely highways. Hunters claimed they spotted enormous wings disappearing into the forest. Several residents reported hearing strange screeching sounds late at night. Others claimed their pets became terrified for no obvious reason. One detail appeared again and again. The eyes. Witnesses rarely agreed on the creature's exact height or the size of its wings. But nearly everyone remembered the eyes. Large, bright red, and strangely hypnotic. Many said looking into them created an overwhelming feeling of fear, as though they were being watched by something far beyond human understanding. Then the mystery took an even stranger turn. As reports of the Mothman increased, so did reports of unexplained lights in the sky. Some witnesses described glowing objects hovering silently above the TNT area. Others watched bright spheres change direction instantly. Something no conventional aircraft could do in 1966. Were these sightings connected? Or was fear causing people to notice ordinary events in extraordinary ways? No one knew. But investigators soon realized something unsettling. Many people who claimed to see the Mothman also reported seeing unusual lights before or after the encounter. The two mysteries seemed to be unfolding side by side.
Just when the town thought the mystery couldn't become any stranger, a new chapter began. people started receiving bizarre phone calls. Others claimed mysterious men in dark suits appeared without warning, asking impossible questions, watching, listening, then disappearing without a trace. Who were these men? Government agents? Private investigators? Or something else entirely? That's where our story goes next. As fear spread across Point Pleasant, some residents began reporting something even stranger. Late at night, their telephones would ring. When they answered, there was only silence. Sometimes, they heard clicking sounds. Sometimes, a faint mechanical buzzing. And in a few chilling accounts, witnesses claimed they heard a voice that didn't sound completely human. Whether these stories were exaggerated over time remains uncertain. But one thing is well documented. Many people believed the strange events surrounding Point Pleasant were growing more personal. It no longer felt like people were simply observing the mystery. Some believed the mystery had started watching them back.
Around the same time, stories about mysterious visitors began circulating. Residents described unfamiliar men dressed in black suits arriving without warning. They often introduced themselves as government officials. But something about them seemed off. Witnesses claimed they spoke in unusual ways. They asked oddly specific questions. Some appeared unfamiliar with everyday objects. Others reportedly stared without blinking for uncomfortable lengths of time. Several people later said these visitors warned them not to discuss what they had seen. Were these genuine federal agents? Curious investigators? Or simply rumors fueled by growing fear? There has never been solid evidence connecting these so-called men in black to any official government agency. Yet their stories became permanently woven into the Mothman legend. As reports continued to grow, one investigator became fascinated by the events unfolding in Point Pleasant. His name was John Keel, a journalist and paranormal researcher. Rather than dismissing the witnesses, Keel spent months interviewing residents, collecting newspaper reports, studying patterns, and documenting every strange claim he could verify. The deeper he looked, the stranger the story became. According to Keel, the sightings weren't limited to a single creature. People also reported unusual lights, electrical disturbances, missing time, and encounters that defied simple explanation. Years later, his investigation inspired the best-selling book The Mothman Prophecies, a book that introduced this once small-town mystery to millions around the world. By December of 1967, more than a year had passed since the first reported sighting. For many residents, life had begun returning to normal. The headlines became less frequent. The creature appeared less often. Some people assumed the strange chapter was finally over. Christmas was approaching. Families were preparing for the holidays. The streets filled with shoppers. Traffic increased across the Silver Bridge, a steel suspension bridge connecting Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to Gallipolis, Ohio. No one crossing that bridge could have imagined that within days, their quiet town would become the focus of international headlines and forever change the legend of the Mothman. December 15, 1967. It was a cold Friday evening. Christmas was only days away. Families finished their shopping. Parents hurried home with gifts. Children looked forward to the holidays. The Silver Bridge was unusually busy. For nearly 40 years, it had connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia, with Gallipolis, Ohio. Thousands of people crossed it every day. To most residents, It was just another bridge. Reliable. Familiar. Safe. No one realized they were about to witness one of the worst bridge disasters in American history. Then, at approximately 5 o'clock in the evening, a loud metallic crack echoed across the river. Within seconds, the impossible happened. The silver bridge collapsed. Cars, trucks, and dozens of people were thrown into the freezing Ohio River below. The disaster unfolded in less than a minute. Rescue teams rushed to the scene. Divers searched through twisted steel and icy water. By the time the operation ended, 46 people had lost their lives. 2 victims were never recovered. The tragedy shocked the nation. For the people of Point Pleasant, life would never be the same again. As investigators searched for answers, they uncovered a devastating engineering failure. According to official findings, the collapse was caused by the fracture of a single steel eye-bar. A tiny crack had slowly weakened a critical suspension component over many years. Combined with increasing traffic loads that the bridge had never been designed to carry, the failure became catastrophic. The investigation transformed how bridges across America were inspected and maintained. It was a painful lesson, written in steel, and paid for with human lives. But almost immediately, another question began spreading through Point Pleasant. Why had the Mothman sightings suddenly stopped? Some residents believed the creature had never been a monster at all. They believed it was a warning, a messenger, something that appeared before tragedy, not to cause disaster, but somehow connected to it. Supporters of this theory pointed to one unsettling detail. After the bridge collapse, reports of the Mothman in Point Pleasant became extremely rare. To believers, the timing couldn't be ignored. To skeptics, it was nothing more than coincidence. Even today, no evidence has ever proven that the creature predicted the disaster. But the question continues to haunt anyone who studies the case. If it wasn't a warning, why did the sightings end almost as suddenly as they began? The bridge was gone, but the legend survived. Instead of disappearing with time, the story only grew larger. Books were written. Television documentaries followed. Researchers traveled from around the world searching for answers. And every year, thousands of visitors returned to Point Pleasant, hoping to understand what really happened during those 13 mysterious months. But the biggest question still remains unanswered. What exactly was the Mothman? Nearly 60 years have passed since the first reported sighting. Yet the legend refuses to fade. Today, Point Pleasant has embraced its mysterious history. Every September, thousands of visitors travel from across the United States and beyond to attend the annual Mothman Festival. Some arrive out of curiosity. Others come because they believe the creature was real. Local museums display witness accounts, newspaper clippings, and artifacts connected to the mystery. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, one thing is undeniable. The Mothman transformed a quiet riverside town into one of America's most famous paranormal destinations. What's even more surprising, reports of Mothman-like creatures didn't completely end with Point Pleasant. Over the decades, people from different parts of the United States have claimed to witness similar figures. Large wings, towering height, glowing red eyes. Some sightings have been reported near abandoned buildings, others near forests, or just before unusual events. Most of these reports have never been independently verified, and no physical evidence has confirmed that they involve the same phenomenon. Still, they continue to fuel one unsettling question. If the original witnesses truly saw something extraordinary, could it still be out there? Of course. Not everyone believes the answer lies in the supernatural. Wildlife experts have proposed several natural explanations. One of the most common theories suggests that frightened witnesses may have encountered a large bird under poor lighting conditions. Species like owls can appear much larger at night. Their eyes often reflect headlights, creating an eerie red glow. Others have suggested that stress, rumors, and growing media attention may have influenced how people interpreted ordinary events. Psychologists call this expectation bias. When people expect to see something unusual, the brain sometimes fills in missing details. It's an explanation that has appeared in many famous mystery cases. But critics argue it doesn't fully explain why so many witnesses describe remarkably similar details. Long before the story became international news, over the years, several theories have emerged. Some believe the Mothman was simply an unidentified animal, one that science has yet to classify. Others suggest it may have been connected to unexplained aerial phenomena, often called UFOs. A more speculative theory proposes that the creature wasn't an animal at all, but something beyond our current understanding. Perhaps an unknown intelligence, or even a symbolic omen that appears before major tragedies. None of these ideas has been proven. And that's exactly why the mystery has survived for so long. Every answer seems to create even more questions. For decades, researchers have searched for undeniable proof. Photographs, physical evidence, anything that could finally settle the debate. But despite countless investigations, nothing conclusive has ever been found. Only stories, memories, and questions that continue to echo through the hills of West Virginia. And now, we're left with one final question. What should we believe? Nearly 6 decades have passed since 4 young friends claimed they saw something impossible near the abandoned TNT area. The witnesses grew older. The town changed. New generations took their place. Yet one question refused to disappear. What did those people actually see? Was it an unidentified animal, a misunderstood natural event, or something that still lies beyond human explanation? History offers no definitive answer. And perhaps that's exactly why the story continues to endure. The Mothman mystery sits at the intersection of history, psychology, folklore, and the unexplained. Engineers focus on the documented cause of the Silver Bridge collapse. Wildlife experts search for natural explanations behind the reported sightings. Psychologists study how fear, expectation, and community storytelling can shape memory. Meanwhile, paranormal researchers continue asking a different question. What if some experiences simply don't fit neatly into the categories we already understand? None of these perspectives completely closes the case. Each explains part of the story, but not all of it. Maybe the Mothman was never meant to be understood. Perhaps it represents something far more universal. Our fear of the unknown. Our search for meaning after tragedy. Or our desire to believe that warning signs exist, even when life feels completely unpredictable. Every culture has stories about mysterious beings. Legends passed from one generation to the next. Some disappear. Others become part of history. The Mothman became both Whether you believe the witnesses, or believe every sighting has a perfectly rational explanation, one fact remains. The events of Point Pleasant changed the town forever. The bridge disaster was real. The eyewitness reports were real. The fear experienced by the community was real. What remains uncertain is what caused it all. Perhaps one day, new evidence will finally solve the mystery. Or perhaps, some stories are destined to remain unsolved, waiting for the next curious mind to ask the same question once again. What really flew over Point Pleasant in 1966? If you enjoyed exploring one of America's most famous unsolved mysteries, you'll probably enjoy our next investigation. The Rendlesham Forest Incident. Some people call it Britain's Roswell. Others believe it may be one of the most credible UFO encounters ever recorded. Click the next video to continue exploring the world's greatest mysteries. And before you go, tell us in the comments. Do you think the Mothman was a real creature, or simply a legend born from fear and coincidence? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another mystery. Until next time, stay curious.